Hello, everybody. It's Casey. Welcome back to the Inspire Fitness Podcast. I'm happy that you're here today and Happy New Year again to all of you. We are almost through our first full week of the new year, and I hope you are doing well. And I hope that you are excited about perhaps maybe making some changes in your nutrition and your fitness, perhaps. If not, maybe you're focused on continuing your efforts, which is great as well. Today, I thought I'd pop in with a very common topic and one that a lot of women struggle with nutritionally. And so today we're going to emphasize the importance of protein. And I talk a lot about protein on my platforms, and I talk a lot about protein with my clients because, quite frankly, it is such an important nutrient, especially for women over the age of 40, those of us in the perimenopause or menopausal area. We need protein. And those of you who are strength training, your needs for protein are even higher. Okay. And it is so key for so many things as we age, in particular, holding on to our lean muscle mass, especially if you're strength training and especially if you are eating in a calorie deficit. Protein is so incredibly important for you. So if protein feels hard and overwhelming and like it's one more thing that you're failing at, this episode is for you because I'm going to really try to hammer home some of the key components of how we can incorporate more protein into our diet and why this is so important for a lot of reasons we're going to talk about today. So welcome. I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for listening. As always, always excited that you're here for the podcast. If you find it's helpful, I always love your feedback. So feel free to reach out to me, message me, share it with a friend. If you think somebody that you know and love may be working on their protein intake as well, please feel free to share this podcast episode with them. I would be super grateful for that. So, today we're going to talk about that protein topic. And I know that many of you struggle with this. And it's very, very common for women over the age of 40 to undereat protein because perhaps they're trying to restrict to lose weight, or they're just not in the habit of consuming protein at every single meal. Some women may be skipping meals, so they're missing out on an entire opportunity to get their protein intake up. And they may rely more on carbohydrate foods or fats because that's easier, quicker, right? Some of those convenience foods aren't always the best options for our protein intake. So let me remind you, as always, this is not about perfection, right? We aren't working towards perfection here, but it's about building a very powerful habit and kind of shifting that mindset to focus on eating more protein to help us to support our goals in the long term, right? So, just real quick, in the Inspire Nutrition program, I thought this would parallel really nicely with what we are doing. We are doing a 28-day protein challenge, and we're talking protein at every single meal. So it's not necessarily about hitting a certain amount of protein, although that is our goal. With time, we're going to continue to dial that protein intake in to match our calorie and macronutrient recommendation goals for protein intake. But really, right now, it's just increasing awareness, and it is about building the habit of, am I eating protein with all of my meals? So that's literally our challenge for the next 28 days is aim to have a protein source with every single meal. And when we do that, it becomes more habit and becomes much more doable, even on the busy, chaotic days, because you know they are coming, right? They're coming. We don't know when they're coming, but they are. So we're going to talk about why protein at every meal is important. Essentially, protein helps with muscle preservation, especially for women over the age of 40. Like I mentioned, if you're strength training, you have higher needs anyway. If you're eating in a calorie deficit, you want to hang on to every last bit of your muscle mass so you lose mostly fat and you maintain your lean mass, which helps support your metabolism and so many other functions moving forward. Protein is important for blood sugar control. It helps us feel more satisfied and full when we're eating in a calorie deficit. Also helps to lessen our cravings for other high carb, high sugar foods. We have better energy and better recovery. Essentially, the real problem isn't willpower. It's not a lack of willpower. It's a lack of structure and habit and an understanding of how do I create this for a habit moving forward for the long term that is sustainable, right? And and most women don't need more motivation because motivation comes and goes, right? But you need a clearer habit and a better structure to help support this idea of protein at every single meal. So, one simple thing I want you to think about in the days ahead, especially for those of you in my Inspire Nutrition program, because you're getting lots of reminders from me and you are participating in this group and this challenge. But I have encouraged my clients to ask themselves, where is my protein? As the first thought of when they are eating food. Not after the fact, not as an afterthought, but as a first decision. What is my protein option? And then we build the meal around that. And you can start to ask yourself, where is my protein? Or what is my protein source for this meal? That can change everything. You at least start acknowledging it and thinking about it. Again, it might not happen at every single meal, but at least you're in that habit of thinking about it and asking. And maybe you can just make some slight modifications that are going to help support that protein intake for the long term. Okay. So let's hit on some breakfast wins because a lot of the women in my program tell me like breakfast is a really difficult time. I'm just not hungry. I can't eat that much food, or I don't really like eggs, so what can I do? So some breakfast ideas that can help support your protein at every meal: eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, and protein powder in smoothies or in oatmeal or in a pancake or a waffle that you're making. You can even eat leftovers for breakfast. Maybe that sounds better to you. I want to eat my leftovers first thing in the morning. You can absolutely do that as long as your leftovers contain some kind of protein option like chicken or fish or a leaner cut of beef or pork. So, those are just some options. Egg whites can be added to things like oatmeal or smoothies to help bump up that protein intake as well. So, yes, cracking an egg, having scrambled eggs, fried eggs, whatever it is, but you can also add some additional egg whites to some other foods that you are consuming. A lot of my ladies also do like a protein coffee. So they'll mix up like a little bit of milk and some protein powder, maybe some collagen. Yes, collagen counts as your protein. Absolutely it does. We had that question last night. It's not a complete protein per se, but you can absolutely count it towards your protein intake, and getting in the habit of a scoop of collagen in your coffee just helps boost that protein intake. Lunch and dinner anchors. Certainly, the leaner the better, right? Especially if you're a woman eating in a calorie deficit. But we can look at grilled chicken. We can go with a leaner cut of beef or pork. We can do shrimp. We can do tofu. Having some kind of protein source at the base of your meal is going to be very helpful. How about you're in a hurry, you're hustling in and out of work, you've got activities to get to? A rotisserie chicken can be a great kind of lazy protein, and that still counts. I love picking up a rotisserie chicken. It makes my cooking time go way down. I don't like spending a lot of time in the kitchen as it is, but sometimes when I'm even really hurried, like pick up a rotisserie chicken and just start tearing it apart, right? Like get the skin off. Like that's going to be the higher calorie, higher fat component to the rotisserie chicken. But inside, there's a lot of really great protein, and it is so easy and so readily available for you. Pop into any grocery store. Typically, you can find one and make that happen. So that can be one of your quick options. You could also do some batch cooking, which really helps support having or meeting your protein guidelines, but having those options on hand where you don't have to cook a protein option every single night. You can do batch cooking either on, the weekend or on one night. It doesn't take much effort to cook a larger amount. And especially things like lean ground beef or lean turkey, you can cook ahead of time. Like sometimes I'll throw a whole bunch in my crock pot and then I'll just freeze a portion. And then I don't have to actually cook the meat on the night when I'm hustling a little bit more. I can just take it out ahead of time, unthawed, and make it into a taco bowl or something else like that. So batch cooking turkey or beef, especially if it's ground, is a great option. Think chunks, think like 30 grams of protein. And I know that seems like a lot, but that is about 4 ounces of meat. 4 ounces of meat typically is going to give you about 28 to 30 grams of protein. You can incorporate protein into your snacking. So things like string cheese or turkey jerky. You can do a Greek yogurt instead of just a regular yogurt. Caution here with protein bars. Okay, not a huge fan, honestly. Like I do use them on occasion, but if you're getting your protein coming from a bar, you are probably getting just as many carbohydrates as you are protein, and you're usually racking up some calories. It's not necessarily the best calorie to protein ratio that you can find out there. So, sure, you can use them in a pinch and they can be fine, but check the label. You want to find one that has probably at least 15 to 20 grams of protein per bar. Many are labeled protein bars, but they don't have nearly that much protein, and the calorie content can be a little bit higher. So I reserve these more for like travel days, or if I'm hustling in town and I'm, running some errands, maybe I'll grab one at a gas station. But typically, if you're getting, there's so many more better sources of protein than a bar. I know it's convenient and I know sometimes they taste good, but I would not reserve them for intake every single day. Personally, I think there's a lot better options. You could do things like dried roasted chickpeas or edamame. Those are great options as well for convenience sake. They come in little packets, or you could just kind of buy a bigger container and put them into little baggies or containers to take with you as well. There are many plant-based options. So I know a lot of you are vegetarian or vegan, or you're just trying to limit your animal product intake. And things like tofu or tempeh can be good options. Lentils or chickpeas, quinoa can be, can incorporate some more protein. You could do a nutritional yeast, some chia seeds. Those are also going to increase your intake of protein. As a vegetarian or as a vegan, definitely a little bit harder to hit protein targets, but it is doable if you're planning ahead and you're thinking about how can I incorporate this protein while keeping an eye on your calorie intake. Protein powder, in my opinion, is never a bad idea. I think it's a wonderful option as far as a good high quality type of protein. Is it necessarily the best to drink all of your calories in a day? Probably not, but you can add protein to things like oatmeal or yogurt or to your smoothie, or to things that you're kind of cooking like pancakes or waffles, those kinds of things. You can always add additional protein powder. It's not a bad idea. People ask me, is it bad if I have 2 or 3 servings of protein powder a day? It's not necessarily bad. I mean, I'd prefer a variety of foods because then you're kind of hitting more nutrients on the list. So variety is better, but certainly 1 or 2 scoops of protein powder a day to help you meet your protein targets, not a bad idea. Personally, I do this because I'm not a huge meat eater. I will eat chicken and I will eat turkey and I do eat eggs. It's not that I'm a vegetarian, but I'm just not a big meat eater. So often I will supplement with that whey protein powder. Shout out, I'll give my little shout out here to Legion because, yes, I am affiliated with this brand, but they are a company that I use their products literally every single day. I will tell you, my most favorite type of protein powder is their salted caramel. It is so delicious. I usually use this in my protein coffee. I'm more like a latte girl, so it's more milk than coffee, but this is my favorite type of protein powder. I literally use it every day and I have been using it for years. So I am affiliated with the Legion company. I will drop my referral link at the show notes if you're interested in checking out their products. Highly recommend salted caramel. I'm also a birthday cake whey fan as well as the vanilla. And they have a lot of other great supplements, but we're talking about protein right now. So I thought I would throw that out there. If you have any questions on that, please reach out to me. Essentially, we're looking at building this habit. That's why I established the challenge in the nutrition program. And I encourage all of you to build this protein focused habit. Protein should be your first thought. And if it's not yet, let's kind of shift that mindset and practice it becoming your first thought. I'm hungry. I need to eat something, or I'm in planning a meal for myself or my family. Protein first. Where's the protein coming from? And then build the meal around that. It should be first thought to your plate. It is that important for women in our age group. Double the protein portion if needed. That's another great idea of how to like hit the actual protein target. So not just are you putting chicken on your plate, but we got to start thinking eventually, how much of the chicken do I need and how much am I eating of it? And a deck of cards size of chicken is about 3 ounces, which is not a bad start, but that's about 21 grams of protein. typically not enough for most of the women in my program who I'm guiding on their protein targets. They need to hit more like 140 to 160 grams of protein a day. And if that's all that your meal contains is 21 grams of protein, good job for making protein a priority. However, we need to start thinking about how can I double that? How can I get 40 grams of protein in that meal? Because that's what's going to get me closer to my target eventually, right? And maybe it's doubling the size. And maybe that's too much chicken for you. So maybe you keep it at about 4 ounces, but you add a half a cup of cottage cheese to your plate, right? So there's little tips and tricks and things that you can do to help increase your protein intake. It doesn't have to always mean eat doubling the food, but it's okay to increase that portion size of your protein options, especially if it's leaner, right? Like chicken or fish, those are going to be very, low calorie compared to how many grams of protein you're actually consuming. If you find yourself sitting down to a meal and you're asking yourself, where's my protein? It's okay to pause and just think about, what could I do quickly to add some protein to this meal? I'm going to go grab a string cheese. I'm going to go grab a Greek yogurt. Maybe I'm going to add a half a cup of beans to my plate. Like, think about it. If you're looking at your plate and you cannot see a protein option, what could I grab quickly to at least provide some protein on my plate? And that is the whole basis of the Protein First Challenge, the 28-day challenge that we're doing with inside the nutrition program. Stock your fridge, okay? Setting yourself up for success is so helpful. If you plan ahead and those items are in your refrigerator, little tuna packets, or maybe it's the rotisserie chicken that I mentioned, maybe it's the roasted edamame that is in your cupboard, whatever it is, like you got to plan ahead. Okay. So plan ahead and think about some of these foods and have them on hand. Things like the tuna packets or the roasted edamame, those like don't have a very short shelf life. Okay. So you can buy those in bulk almost and have them available to you. And it's not like you have to eat it within 3 to 5 days, right? Like some fresh food would be. So have some food on hand, plan ahead, and in setting yourself up for success, that environment is huge. Like if those are your go-to go-to foods and they are easily accessible to you, it's going to make your success with Protein First so much easier. Okay. So, some days I will say this, some days you'll nail it. Like, oh, I just hit it. I hit it. Everything was great. Some days you'll be like, where's the string cheese and the third protein shake, right? Like some days are not going to be ideal or perfect. And that's okay. You do what you can. Some days you don't even get to the string cheese or the protein shake, and you're just like, I just got through my day today. I can't even think about it. And that's okay too, right? Like we have to remember progress over perfection. And if consistency is there, like if I'm protein first with the majority of my meals, the majority of my days, I can survive a day where I barely ate 1 ounce of protein, right? Like hopefully that doesn't happen very often. But you have to know, like, some days are just not going to be wonderful. And how do we set ourselves up for success to be more consistent with that protein intake is a lot of these things that I'm just mentioning, right? And it starts with that thinking about that protein. Consistency is so key and it beats perfection hands down every single time. Okay. So you don't have to hit a perfect number. Yes, those are goals and yes, those are targets. And that is what we are aiming for over time. But building the habit is so much more important. And if focusing on that number stresses you right out and you can't even do anything because you feel like you have to do it all. If I don't hit my number at all, I'm not being successful. Like take that pressure off of yourself and just think about if I can just put some protein on my plate with the majority of my meals, I am working towards success. Okay. And that is exactly the reason I am doing this challenge within the Inspired Nutrition community because we are building simple habits. We are focusing on real food and accountability that fits the real life, right? Like I don't have these expectations like you were going to hit your macro goals within 3 days of joining the program. Like sure, maybe you can do it one day, but you have to build those habits and establish that understanding and that's what's going to move you forward. And so maybe in 6 months for you, 6 months from now, hitting your macro targets is more common than not, right? but it doesn't happen overnight. So take that pressure off of yourself. Okay. So we are doing this monthly challenge, 28 days of protein focused meals. And I'm pretty excited about it. And a lot of the women are as well. Um, Within that program, women do have support and accountability. We have coaching calls. I provide them with resources. So if you're listening to this and you're like, dang it sounds like what I need. The door is still open. You can absolutely join us. This is the Inspire Nutrition Method. This is the process that I teach, and you can join us. You just have to go to my website, inspirehw.com, click on nutrition, and you can jump in right now through the end of April for $149. So it is accessible to you if you are interested. Please check that out or DM me if you have questions about that offer. I want to remind you that small habits done consistently create big changes, especially for women over the age of 40. This is so important. So I hope that you found this helpful. I hope maybe you got one or two good ideas for your protein, or at least it served as a reminder on the importance of protein for you and for your goals moving forward. If you are a woman over the age of 40, I don't care if you're actively trying to lose weight or not, consuming protein is going to improve how you feel and how your body functions and how your body looks. So, consuming adequate protein, mark it as a priority. I think it's one of the most important things that we can do, and it can be a challenge. And that's okay. I want to acknowledge that. If you're not feeling 100% confident in it right now, that is okay. You are not alone. It is a struggle for a lot of women. So, thank you for joining me today. Again, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I'd love to hear from you. Or, like I said, share it with a friend if you think they would benefit from this information. We are going to be back with another podcast episode next week, and I look forward to speaking with all of you then. For now, stay focused on your protein, eat your protein first, build those meals around the protein. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.